Amid the story that Shreyas Iyer and Ishan Kishan were outrightly rejected for BCCI central contracts for the 23-24 time duration, and the fact that the BCCI has made clear very publicly that all players should be prioritizing domestic cricket as and when necessary, one of the things that flew just a little bit under the radar was the fact that for the first time ever, the BCCI introduced what were essentially fast bowling contracts. Now, it had never been done prior because the most recent contract structure was grade A plus, grade A, grade B and grade C. And whilst we don't quite know how much money or how much remuneration is being given to these players who are on the fast bowling contracts, it's something that's worth delving deep into, especially when you consider the choice of pacers that has been made by the BCCI. There's a bit of a familiar theme. You do see players who have in the last 1 or 2 seasons been performing consistently well in domestic cricket, which once again lends credence to the idea that the BCCI are giving domestic cricket the first priority. So who are the 5 fast bowlers that were selected for the first ever fast bowling BCCI contracts? Let's take a look and start off with someone who all of you would be very familiar with. Umran Malik. Umran Malik hit the headlines when he first played for the Sunrisers Hyderabad, and the young pacer from Jammu and Kashmir made waves for the simple reason that he would more often than not be clocking speeds in excess of 150 kilometers per hour. In fact, in the IPL 2023, his best remembered moment was when he set up India international Shreyas Iyer with a barrage of short balls, then bowled an absolute thunderbolt of a full one to castle his stumps. It was something that epitomized exactly what it is that Umran Malik brings: pace and lots of it. It led to obviously a lot of calls to fast track him to the national team, calls that were eventually heeded, but it is worth noting that so far he hasn't quite impressed when it comes to international cricket. In fact, if you go in T20Is, his economy in the few matches he's played is over 10, and even in ODIs, which is a little more of a forgiving format, his economy right now, having played 10 ODIs, is about 6 runs, which is not great when you consider that more often than not bowlers would be targeting the 4.5, at most 5 range for economy. Nevertheless, he's still young, he's still raw, and is still developing, and doing so by doing the hard yards in domestic cricket. So it does make sense that he was included. Plus, he's a rarity in Indian cricket because you don't often get pace bowlers who can clock in excess of 150 kmph. So it does make sense that the BCCI are showing him that, look, you are in our plans, just get your rhythm back and you'll be back in the national scheme of things. The next person is someone who is popular for, let's just say, some wrong reasons: Yash Dalal. Yash Dalal is seen as someone who has done well in domestic cricket, but his first break into the national conscience came during the 2023 or 2022 edition of the IPL. He played for the Gujarat Titans and did impress for them, and what also stood out is the fact that he was a left-arm pacer who bowled well with the new ball, something that India have, generally speaking, struggled to get a lot of. So there were calls again that you should fast-track him, you should get him into the team. Unfortunately, now he's most famous for that legendary IPL moment in 2023 when he was carted for 5 consecutive sixes by his fellow Uttar Pradesh teammate and one-time captain Rinku Singh. Nevertheless, the fact is he's not let that define him. He has continued to grind it out in domestic cricket. In fact, if you look at his first-class record, it's pretty decent. In 23 first-class games, he's gotten you 72 wickets. He still plays first-class regularly. And the fact is that he's someone who has not escaped the cricketing conscience and is not defined by those 5 sixes. Because again, if that was the sole reason, how is it that an RCB dished out 5 crores to get him during the IPL 2024 auction? So there's definitely a lot of potential that people see in him. Whether or not he can fulfill that remains to be seen, but the BCCI too clearly has very high hopes from there. The third pacer, and someone who would be known because he only made his international debut very recently, is Akashdeep. Now, Akashdeep, like Yash Dalal, is also someone who's plied his trade for RCB and impressed. Although in Yash Dalal's case, he's yet to make his debut for RCB, but you get the point. Akashdeep, though, is first came to the national conference when, of course, he did well for RCB, but prior to that, he had been doing rather well for West Bengal in domestic cricket as well. In fact, so good was his red ball form that he ended up getting first called up to the India A side to play against the England Lions, and did rather well over there. So well, in fact, that he was chosen to replace Jasprit Bumrah in the 4th test of the England series at Ranchi, and showed that fate was not misplaced when on debut he ended up snaring 3 wickets and troubling the largely experienced English batting lineup. Now, again, he's someone whose first-class records pretty impressive. He's gotten over 100 wickets, in fact 107 wickets exactly in 31 first-class games. Someone who's shown that he has the ability to get through adversity. You've heard his story. He lost both father and brother in very, very quick time, almost considered quitting the game, then continued on in his career, and now is reaping the rewards for putting in the hard yards and not giving up. Again, someone who's still young when it comes to international experience, and someone who may not be around once all of India's pacers are fully fit and firing, but the fact that he's put on this retainer means the BCCI sees plenty of promise in keeping him around. Now, again, another RCB pacer, as I mentioned, in the form of Vijay Vishak, and a local Karnataka lad, a rarity in RCB that you see local Karnataka players get favour. But Vijay Vishak did just that during the 2023 edition of the IPL. He was picked up by the franchise and for the most part did impressively well for them. He's of course yet to make it to the levels of international cricket or closely thereabout, but the fact that he was even handed this contract shows that there's an innate belief in the abilities he possesses, and again the numbers do kind of back it up. 86 wickets in 20 first-class games, someone who consistently plays well across formats, and someone who for the large parts was very much RCB's better pace bowlers in the 2023 edition of the IPL. Much as people will say, oh, don't always look at IPL experience, in the IPL you're playing up against top quality stars, and that mentality, the ability to succeed against top level opposition when you yourself are young, does of course go a long way in proving that you could do well in the rigors of international cricket. Vishak has done just that. He's also impressed for Karnataka at the domestic level, and this is a Karnataka side that were very close to making it to the semi-finals of the Ranji Trophy. Obviously, that won't be happening, but Vishak, his good performances not gone unnoticed at all. And the most unknown of the lot, you can say, was Vidwat Kaverappa, another Karnataka pacer, but someone who doesn't in fact turn out for RCB. He turns out for the Punjab Kings. Now, Punjab Kings, of course, gave him a shot last year around, did do well enough, and he did well enough that he was actually retained by the franchise. In itself, a pretty big admission that they trust your talent, because Kings 11 or Punjab Kings, whatever you want to call them, are one of those sides that are more than happy to chop and change players, them and the Sunrisers. But they retained Vidwat Kaverappa, and this is despite the fact that Kaverappa is someone who only started playing first-class cricket about 2 years back. 2022 was when he made his debut, but again someone who's seen with plenty of potential, because the selectors did pick him for the India A series that took place against the England Lions, and against them also he did very, very well. Again, first-class career, again since only playing 2 years, so he's played 20 games, but 80 wickets in that time period suggests that there is a very good pace bowler there. Whether or not his talents can be harnessed at the international level, that's yet to be seen, but the BCCI does believe that he has the potential to do well. And that's it. These are the 5 pacers who will go down in history as getting the first ever fast bowling contracts in BCCI annual contract history. Who do you think will be the one who shines brightest for India? You can tell us that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell, follow us also on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos we've done as well.